Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Government and state sector officials from the United Republic of Tanzania are in Trinidad to conduct a study of Trinidad and Tobago's energy sector. The Ministry of Works and Infrastructure and NIDCO holds a comprehensive land transportation program for the San Fernando to Point Fortin highway. And more work to be done in the country to reduce the spread of HIV. Thank you for joining us. The construction of the San Fernando to Point Fortin highway is moving forward in phases. Now that's the word from the National Infrastructure Development Company, NIDCO. The Ministry of Works and Infrastructure and NIDCO held a comprehensive land transportation program for the San Fernando to Point Fortin highway and gave updates on its construction process.
In the comprehensive transportation program, a slide presentation revealed that the highway is being designed to freeway standards.
So we have catered for 405 residents on the site. In addition, spaces have been allocated for various amenities. We have green spaces, playgrounds, facilities for mosques, church, schools, you name it, we have it. Okay? And we have catered for entire communities to be relocated to the site.
The project involves the construction of a 4-lane divided highway to international freeway standards and comprises several segments.
The site can accommodate up to 800 residential lots. We have even more lots than people deserve. EMBD has begun development of the site, and to date, the site is approximately 80% complete.
The project will also improve the road network in the southwest region, providing connectivity to the main population centers such as Debe, Pinal, Siparia, Faizabad, and Point Fortin.
1. To improve the efficiency of the road network in the southwestern area of Trinidad. 2. To improve road access and connectivity to Debe, Pinal, Siparia, Point Fortin. 3. To cater for the future traffic demands on the road network in this area. This is considering residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural development for this entire area. And of course, alternative a long-term benefit to facilitate economic growth.
Speaking at the event, President of NIDCO, Dr. Carlson Charles, says the socio-economic development of the southwest region has been identified by the government of Trinidad and Tobago as one of the major growth poles.
And when in January, the Prime Minister turned this out and we again mentioned where it passing, we were proud to boast that it was passing through all these communities. We thought that was a good thing. So every time we spoke, we boasted this passing through this community and that one and that one and that one. And when I signed the contract, I said, well, where were all these protesters? Where was the Red movement then? I didn't hear anybody say anything. We went in Debe and we had a big meeting.
Dr. Charles says it is a key component as it will support industrial and agricultural development, as well as increase employment and income levels, thereby benefiting the regional population and the national economy.
We meet a fence and we don't break down the fence without asking the owner. We meet houses, we don't break them down. We are really constraining the contractor in him trying to do his work.
Dr. Charles admits that one of the most challenging things about the project is the acquisition process. He adds that they are doing all in their power to meet the concerns of the people, but the project must keep going forward. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure issued a press statement with respect to the extension of the Solomon Hochoy Highway to Point Fortin. The press statement is as follows. The government welcomes the inputs of the Joint Consultative Council, JCC, and other civil society organizations, namely the Federation of Independent Trade Unions, Fortin, the Trinidad and Tobago Transparency Institute, TTI, and Women Working for Social Progress, Working Women, in meeting today to progress this matter involving the extension of the Solomon Hochoy Highway to Point Fortin. The discussions have been fruitful in pointing the way forward. The meeting concluded as follows. 1. The National Infrastructure Development Company Limited, NIDCO, undertook to make available to the JCC all the more relevant documentation in its possession on the project in respect of the Debe to Mondesi segment of the highway extension. 2. The JCC undertook to examine all the documentation on the project provided by NIDCO and all other relevant documentation, and to produce a report within 60 days from today's date, December 3rd, to NIDCO for its consideration and its publication thereafter. And 3, work will continue on sites of the highway released to the contractor. Present at today's meeting were also Senator the Honorable Emmanuel George, Senator the Honorable Ganga Singh, and the Honorable Stacey Rupnarai. In other news, government and state sector officials from the United Republic of Tanzania are in Trinidad to conduct a study tour of the energy sector. Energy Minister Senator the Honorable Kevin Ramnarine has already held productive talks with the delegation following their arrival on Sunday night.
The 16-member official delegation is in this country mainly to study and observe the management of petroleum and natural resources in Trinidad and Tobago. This is as a result of one of the largest gas finds ever in the East African nation's history. Tanzanian state officials have also been placing increased focus on natural gas production. The delegation is headed by the Honorable Kasim Majaliwa, the Deputy Minister for Regional Administration and Local Government in the Office of the Prime Minister. It also includes Tanzanian MPs, along with officials from that country's Ministry of Energy and Minerals and executives from the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation. While in Trinidad, the officials will have an opportunity to visit several of this country's energy installations and meet with top-level executives in state energy companies and the Energy Chamber. Minister Ramnarine warmly welcomes the Tanzanian officials and expresses his belief that the mission will be a success. He says there is already a working relationship between the two nations and expects valuable information to be exchanged.
We have also signed a memorandum of understanding as a MOU between the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago and the Tanzanian Petroleum Company, TPC. Yeah, so there is a MOU. So there's already the basis for cooperation, but I gather your visit here is more to understand and to explore.
The delegation is expected to pay courtesy calls on several government ministers, including the Ministers of Energy and Energy Affairs, Tertiary Education and Skills Training, Local Government and Foreign Affairs. Tanzania's economy is now ranked as one of the fastest growing in the whole of Africa. It also ranks as one of the top 5 most diversified economies in Africa. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
When we come back, hundreds of students graduate from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Hundreds of students of the University of Trinidad and Tobago have graduated with their certificates, diplomas and degrees. Speaking at the graduation ceremony 2012 was UTT Chairman Curtis Manchun, who says the students are now on their way to taking their rightful place in the world.
Hundreds of successful students at the University of Trinidad and Tobago can now step out confidently into the world of work or even further their studies. This as UTT celebrates the success of fellow graduates and gave prospective graduates, friends and family the opportunity to acknowledge their achievements. Speaking at the graduation ceremony was UTT Chairman Curtis Manchun, who boasts that the university is unique in having numerous branches spread throughout the entire country, with plans to complete the structure for yet another campus in Tobago.
We are also in the final stages of completing our Tobago campus, now a landmark along the waterfront in Scarborough. No other institution can boast of having 10 teaching campuses and a dedicated research campus responding to diverse geographic and economic needs of our beloved country.
Mr. Manchun says one of the mandates of the university is to produce entrepreneurs for various sectors in society.
In addition to graduating academically, we hope to be able to introduce new entrepreneurs and new business leaders who have come through the system of UTT, which would add to our graduation ceremony, because as you know, that is our mission as a university, to produce entrepreneurs, to develop entrepreneurship, to spawn new business enterprises and companies for the economic development of Trinidad and Tobago.
He says the influence that has been made to the surrounding communities through the impact of UTT has been quite positive.
Many of our students have already participated in regular weekend volunteering. Our students, the UTT students, are becoming more aware of the societal needs of neighboring communities and NGOs. The fact that we have over 10 campuses throughout the country provides an ideal opportunity for us to go outside of the walls of the university and to engage with the communities in which we are located, with communities which desperately need our ideas, our solution, our service, our contribution.
Verna Barath, News 4.
Still with news of diplomas and degrees, the Trinidad and Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute recently held a graduation ceremony for the latest group of students to graduate from the institution. Delivering the feature address, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Mrs. Juliana Yohan Budram, says the graduates are exactly what this country's growing tourism industry needs.
Tassels and tears filled the grand ballroom of the Hyatt Hotel as graduates of the 2012 class of the Trinidad and Tobago Hospitality and Tourism Institute, or TTHTI, all gathered together for what may be the last time at their graduation ceremony. The graduates relished the moment, saying goodbye to their friends and hello to the new era of their life that awaits them. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Mrs. Juliana Yohan Budram, welcomes the graduates to the world of tourism. She says it is their capabilities that will move the industry forward.
You are graduating and you are coming into an industry. You are coming into an industry at a time when the industry itself, although it is growing, it is faced by a lot of challenges. But I want to let you know, over the past 2 days, the Ministry of Tourism, we had our strategic planning session. And one of the things we noted as we were planning is that we talked about it. We need new ideas, we need new skills, we need new energy in this industry. And guess what? You will have those new ideas. You will provide the new skills. And you will have the energy that we need in this industry to take this industry forward.
However, she says while they may face challenges in the industry, the government is doing what it can to make things easier for graduates in that field.
The government is also doing its part in the tourism industry to ensure that this industry continues to be a viable industry, that we continue to set the regulatory and the framework that is needed for a successful industry.
Mrs. Yohan Budram also commends the lecturers and administrators of the TTHTI. She emphasizes that their task is a necessary one and believes their work is appreciated by the government and the nation as a whole.
Your institution is one of the, probably the only institution that is so well recognized in Trinidad and Tobago in this industry. And I just want to commend you for the human service that you are doing in producing these graduates every year. So thank you all very much for the wonderful service, and I want to implore you to continue the very good work that you are doing, which I can attest to.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Sport is up right after the break. What a difference a match day makes. The men of Wassa FC were sitting pretty after match day 20 in the Blink B-Mobile National Super League. But on match day 21, a shocking defeat leaves the Watermen in danger of not capturing the 2012 league title. Wayne Cunningham has the scores from this weekend's matches and a look at what's ahead as the league heads for an exciting climax.
Wassa's drive to the 2012 National Super League title ran into a serious roadblock when they faced the defense force on the penultimate match day last weekend. The military men shocked the leaders at their home turf in St. Joseph with a 3-0 beating courtesy goals from Dave Long in the 63rd minute and a double from Dylan Curtin in the 77th and 90th. That result was a perfect one for chasing Joe Public FC, one of the teams in with a chance of catching Anthony Dandola's men. The defending champions got past Central Team Eagles United 2-1 to keep themselves in the race. A first-half double from former national striker Andre Toussaint did the trick for the Eastern Lions, while the evergreen Bernard McCall got the Eagles' lone goal. Northern outfit Westside Superstars still has a mathematical chance of taking the title, and improved that chance with a come-from-behind win over a top FC Santa Rosa. Javon Rochford opened the scoring for Keith Lucloy's team 10 minutes after the break. That was cancelled out by Troy Thompson's 66-minute strike. Kevon Piper sealed the deal for the coaches Nigel Grosvenor and Nigel Bear. Fourth place Stokely Vale has no chance of breaking into the top three, but that did not stop them from hammering Cellar Place Beach United 5-0. The Tobago squad made full use of home advantage, with Tyrone Manning hitting a hat-trick, and Rohan Sebro and Shannon Sandy getting the other two. It was a good weekend for football in the Sister Isle, as 1976 FC Phoenix also recorded a victory in Canaan. Terry Williams and his men got past Southern Team Siparia Spurs 2-0, with two first-half goals from Darren Mitchell and Delroy Fraser, which moved them up to 5th place on the points table. In the bottom half of the table, Real Maracas continues to pull themselves away from the relegation zone. An own goal for each team had their match versus Club Sando tied until the 81st minute. That's when Pernell Schultz sealed the deal for the men from the Valley, which left the Southern team second from bottom. So it's all to play for this coming week, with the key matchups being first on Wednesday in a rescheduled clash between Joe Public and Phoenix at the Marvin Lee Stadium. And on Sunday, the final day of competition, Wassa needs a point versus a tricky Santa Rosa outfit to secure the title, while Joe Public should have an easier task versus Club Sando, and West Side visits the Maracas Valley with hopes still intact. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
When we come back, we look at World AIDS Day 2012. In recognition of International Human Rights Day, several stakeholders have come together to discuss the Trafficking in Humans Act, which is yet to be proclaimed.
The International Human Rights Day event at Napa was a representative from the Ministry of National Security, Michelle Otley-Jones, who provided an overview on the Trafficking in Persons Act, which she says is still awaiting proclamation. She also highlighted several functions of the National Task Force. She says non-governmental organizations are required to come on board to work alongside the government regarding this issue.
The primary functions I'm going to look at: to establish policies and develop a national plan of action to prevent trafficking in persons and children, identify, assist, and protect victims, prosecute traffickers, repatriate victims. And if you look at that, you will see elements of the 4 Ps. And all of this must be done in partnership with non-governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations. Another important function is to measure and evaluate the progress of Trinidad and Tobago in the areas of prevention, protection, and prosecution.
Mrs. Otley-Jones also listed some of the functions of a counter-trafficking unit. She says things need to be put in place to facilitate this unit.
Investigate matters pertaining to trafficking, identify victims of trafficking, gather evidence relation to trafficking offenses to assist in securing convictions against traffickers. Now, that is critical, and that is one of the reasons why it was so important that the counter-trafficking unit is staffed with persons with law enforcement capabilities.
She says there are several issues facing the actual proclamation of the Trafficking in Persons Act, while also describing human trafficking activities.
The penalties are really pretty high, and it's intended to act as a deterrent, but we know if you really want to do something, you'll do it no matter what. In particular, Section 23 offense speaks to transporting or conspiring to transport a person into or within Trinidad and Tobago or across an international border for the purposes of exploitation of persons, prostitution. Conspiring is an agreement to commit an act, and all you have to prove in that case is the agreement. It's not what in fact was done, but it is what was in fact agreed upon.
Vuna Bharath, News 4.
In observance of World AIDS Day 2012 on December 1st, the Office of the Prime Minister hosted an interactive HIV/AIDS exposition and village at the Brandmauer Promenade in Port of Spain. Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Honourable Roger Samuel, says there is more work to be done in the country to reduce the spread of HIV.
The Minister of State notes that from 1983 to 2011, significant strides have been made to control the AIDS epidemic, and from 2008 to 2011, there was a 25.6% reduction in the spread of AIDS in the country.
This day, though, is an opportunity for public and private partners to share valuable resources and information about the status of the pandemic and then encourage progress in HIV and AIDS prevention, to encourage progress in HIV and AIDS treatment and care in high-prevalent countries in Trinidad and Tobago and around the world. It is also an empowering opportunity for us and for the people worldwide to unite in the fight against HIV.
However, he says, the public must be continuously educated if the spread of the disease is to be controlled.
As I have often said before, World AIDS Day is important as it reminds the public and the government that HIV and AIDS has not gone away and that there is still a vital need to raise money, to increase awareness and improve education, especially for our young citizens who must be encouraged to be sexually responsible for themselves and to safeguard their future.
Mr. Samuel says the 2015 target of universal access to HIV treatment is projected at reaching 80% of the population.
We need to have a collectively sustained effort, and that will be the only resort to achieving the desired results.
However, he hopes greater numbers of citizens in the country could have access to this life-saving medicine. World AIDS Day is important as it reminds the public and government that HIV and AIDS has not gone away. There is still a vital need to raise money, increase awareness, fight prejudice, stigma and discrimination, and improve education, especially for our young citizens who must be encouraged to be sexually responsible for themselves. With an estimated prevalence rate of 1.5% as at the end of 2011, Trinidad and Tobago is characterized as having a generalized epidemic. Reported data for the period 1983 to 2011 show that great strides have been made in the control of the epidemic. The HIV/AIDS Exposition and Village featured a number of free activities and events such as confidential and rapid HIV testing and counseling, video demonstrations, interactive question and answer sessions, lectures and short films, educative theatre presentations, trivia games, free giveaways, and lots more. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Thank you for joining us.